welcome back to yet another week of the NOYC podcast. So last week we looked about we looked and talked about being grateful in everything, whether good or bad. Yes. Today we're going to take a look at a pretty familiar verse that has a wee little word in it, which we're all probably, like, we see it, but I don't think we ever put much thought of it being in said verse. So 2 Timothy 3:2 says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy." So did you catch the word? I feel like you got it. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, unthankful. It's sneaky. So when we think of people who love themselves, I don't like people who love themselves. It's just like a thing. Like they're so like cringy. Yeah, like it is. It's cringy. And like we know, like that's not pleasing to God. Like, ooh, that's not good. Yeah, like that's not, God's not okay with that. Like we know that's obvious. Yeah. When we think of people who covet or boast, or maybe they're proud, we know the Bible clearly says God resisted the proud. Right? So like that's obvious. Blaspheming. That's a big one. It's a big one. Right? We tend to categorize sins, blaspheming being under the really bad ones, the unforgivable sin. Of course, being a mom, I can't leave out disobedient to parents.
As a child, I can leave that one out.
But unthankfulness? Is that...
I guess we don't put that in the same...
Right, is that as bad as being proud or blaspheming?
Well, according to the Bible, it is. We can't make this stuff up.
So why is being unthankful on this list? What do each of these things have in common? I kind of felt like they all were a heart issue. Yeah. When you take a deeper look into it, when we're loving ourselves, when we're not listening to our parents, when we're being unthankful, we're looking at us and serving ourselves first. Yes. We can all probably say we have met an unthankful person a time or two. Yes. Were they fun to be around?
It's a circus. It's not.
Probably not, no. Unthankful people typically complain a lot. They're negative. They aren't happy. And, well, they're just party poopers. I said it.
They're party poopers.
I said it.
And every party has a pooper. That's why we invited you.
Okay,
so that's what my mom used to say.
So this draws us away from him, right?
Yes.
We looked last week at being thankful for the non-tangible things, right? That was the charge up challenge. Did you guys do the charge up challenge? Did you do the charge up challenge? I did it because I had to use it as a reference to this podcast.
Like I had to do this.
When we start looking at what we have to be thankful for and how we don't deserve them and deserve the things that he's done and given us, we'll stop loving ourselves because when we realize how dirty and unlovable we really, really are, we realize that I don't love myself. When I put myself in perspective of how God sees me without him, take away Jesus' blood, take away everything else, who Rachel is, I am not lovable. Yeah. And when we see how much he has given us, we're satisfied in him, wanting nothing more. So we stop coveting. Yes. Right? Yep. When we see what we really are and that we can do nothing, there's nothing to boast of. No. When you can't do anything, right? So do you see where I'm going with this?
You don't feel like you're entitled to anything. You don't feel like you have like amounted to anything. Right. And not in a, oh, poor me, pity, da-da-da. It's a realizing a real reflection of who you are as a person. I think a lot of times, especially nowadays, and like even in America, I think that we almost, for lack of a better term, we idolize ourselves. Oh yeah, because we're like, well, yeah, I did this. God helped, right? But I did this, right? You know, and that's where you get that unthankfulness, because then it's like, I'm doing everything. I'm doing this. I deserve this, and it's not about you at all.
Right. And when those things slowly creep in, I think that list, when you look at it in that way, the list kind of makes sense. You're going to start loving yourself, which means you can boast. You can be proud of yourself. And it leads to going darker and darker as the list with blaspheming. And you know what I mean? All the things, like it leads to it. And so having an unthankful heart can lead to so much more, you know?
And I don't know how, like, obviously the Bible was, it's God's word, but it's wrote by man. But like, when you're making, and maybe I'm just weird in this, just probably that, like in my head,
we're used to that.
It's almost like ingredient lists to me.
Right.
The things you put first are usually, no, the opposite way. I write it the other way. Because usually I make my stuff that's more important at the end.
Right.
So people remember it. I don't put it first. I put it at the end.
Right.
So people remember it. And he put blasphemy,
unthankfulness,
unholy.
Right.
Like, you're not talking about, like, he's talking, like, unholy is a very big term. As long, and it's between blasphemy and unholy. So it's a pretty big deal.
Right, it's a big deal.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think that it kind of just went really well with the charge of challenge last week, because when we look at the untangible things to be thankful for, I just feel like you can't follow that list. You can't be, you know, once you become thankful, you no longer, when you're thankful for the non-tangible things he's done, you can't be proud, you can't be boastful, you can't be those things, because you realize that if you know don't get to sit in our Sunday school class because you're teaching your own. Yes. But we can do nothing. It's not about us. It's not about what we can do. And it's all about seeing him for who he is. And if once you hit that, like, that list kind of just
it just like it falls away because you have nothing to put on that list.
Because it's not about us. That whole list is about self.
Exactly.
And it no longer can be about self when it's all about him. So being unthankful leads to so many other things, just as much as being thankful does, right? When we're thankful, it leads to us having a good spirit and, you know, being happy and all the things. And unthankful can do the exact opposite, but you know, the same thing, but opposites. So my list from last week consisted of a good father who is Heavenly Father, who is always there for me and who corrects me. I'm thankful for the closeness to him and that he is daily drawing me to him. I'm thankful for my children's salvation, and just in the littlest ways I see how he's working in their lives, and that's important to me. I'm thankful for him, like the goofiest, small, specific prayers that I've been praying lately that I really haven't shared with anyone else. So it's literally between me and God, and he's been answering those things just between me and him. Thankful for that, and that our relationship is real, and that there's evidence of mine and his relationship. And so there's more of my untangible things. I couldn't read my next sentence. There's more, but when we're thankful, all those things in that list, just like I said, they go away because you're not looking at yourself no longer. Did you have any? Did you? Okay, you're just gonna act like
I totally just went like.
Yeah, that's fine. You have nothing going on, so
I have nothing, absolutely nothing going on. It's ridiculous.
At all. But blasphemy is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Can we see why being unthankful can be just as a big of a deal?
Yeah.
Just as bad as it is to blaspheme God, it's a big deal to be unthankful for what he has done for us, because it takes our heart away from looking at him.
Yes.
At looking at what we can do. So we're no longer looking at what he's doing and what he's done for us. We're maybe even taking credit for what he's done.
Yeah.
And that's scary, and that's that leads to all of that list.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you find yourself grumbling and complaining, start counting your blessings. Go back, look at the list from last week's Charge Up Challenge. If you didn't do it, go do it. It's Jamie.
Sorry.
It really is. At first, it's like, because like your natural instinct is like clothes, food, shelter, and like, but I can touch those things.
But but that's the thing though. Like that's from like youth, because like, do you remember when we would do it around Thanksgiving time and like stuff that you'd always write stuff down, and they wanted to know what you were thankful for, and that's the stuff you would write down when you were a kid. You were like, my clothes, my house, my this, my
because
mom,
there's so
my
many
dad.
people who don't have those things.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And while we should,
and that's what we're told as kids. Like, these people don't have these things. You better be grateful for them. And that's not saying that you shouldn't be grateful for those things.
But there's so much more.
Yes.
He is so much more than just simply, because I know we've kind of hit it on a few times, but Adam preached at the
youth revival.
The youth revival 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I feel like
it was the week of the 4th, November 4th. So whenever that was last week. That was last week.
Okay.
Not this past week, but like the week before that.
I see how you're doing that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
If you can get those things other places, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that aren't saved that do have clothes, that do have these things.
Yep.
What do you have in your life that
makes you different?
that isn't tangible, that is from God.
Yep.
That you couldn't get anywhere else.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people, because that point that Adam hit really got me. I really enjoyed that, and I've heard other people talk about it too. But it really just puts things in perspective. What do you have that you can't touch and feel, and that isn't from other
what makes
places?
You different?
Yeah. So start thanking him for what he's done and what he's done for you.
Exactly. So this week's Charge Up Challenge, I really think that like a really good spin on this. It's kind of like it's like the things of last week, kind of, but it's more of the opposite end. So take the things so you're walking through your day, doing your thing, and you start grumbling about something. And you don't have to necessarily write it down if you don't want to. You just keep it in the back of your head, however you want to do this. But think of those things and really pray. Are you upset about this because it's not what you want? Or are you upset about this because it's actually something that you're supposed to be taking care of? Because I feel like a lot of times in life we're like, this is a big deal, da-da-da-da-da. And then we're like, we got to take care of this. And it's really, in God's grand scheme of things, it's not so big of a deal.
We don't want to take care of it. We just like complain about it.
Yeah, we like to complain about it. So think about the things that you're unthankful for this week and really pray about them. And why are you unthankful for it? Are you unthankful for it because it's just inconvenient?
Right.
It's, not a good time for you because, listen, life is going to be that way. It's not a perfect world. And so I just want you to take those things and really think about them. Because I think that and I don't want you to think about them in the way of,
like, don't dwell on them.
Not biasness, if that makes sense. Like, not a, well, yeah, I should be mad about this because this and this and this. I want you to really, that's why I'm saying pray about it. Because if you pray about it, God's going to give you the side that you need to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's something that we need to do this week. And maybe the more you do that, the less you'll be likely to be angry about things and be unthankful.
Yeah, and maybe you could even match it up for every ungrateful thing. At least find one thing from your last week's Charge Up Challenge and kind of like cover that. Like, oh, I guess I don't have to be, like, this isn't something to be upset about, but this is something to be thankful for.
Yes.
You could kind of like put them together.
Yep.
So today's quote is from Henry Ward Beecher.
Is this a dead person?
This is a dead guy.
How long?
I don't know.
Long dead.
He's
dead,
old,
long
he's
dead
old
and gone.
Dead, I'm sorry. They say good things.
Listen, you got a cemetery up in here. Go ahead.
The unthankful heart discovers no mercies, but let the thankful heart sweep through the day, and as the magnet finds the iron, so will it find in every hour some heavenly blessings.
And I think that's so true. So think about when you're in a bad mind space and you're angry and you're just whatever, where do you gravitate?
Yeah.
You don't gravitate to the people that are thanking God.
Right. No, you're like if you're in the middle of a pity party, you're gonna go find those other people who will join that pity party.
That are either having their own or they're like, oh, you should have.
Yeah, like they brought the cake to your pity party.
Yeah, they brought the cake and the balloons, and you're just there like. And then the opposite's true. When you're thankful and you just feel God all over you, you don't want to be with the people that are having a pity party.
Right.
So I think that's a really good quote because that's literally how it works. Because we're human. That's just how it works.
Exactly. The feature content today is Grateful by Elevation Worship. So I hope you guys got something out of this. Yeah. And stay tuned for next week. We are back with what is our theme, like actual title?
That's a good question. We should probably know that.
It's
thankful.
Yeah, well, we're gonna continue talking about.
I think
it's
just like thankfulness.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something that's gonna tell you somewhere. I can't think of what else.
Don't worry about it. Josh is gonna yell at us later for not knowing this.
Stay tuned for next week for more of whatever this is.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.